Hello again, Misfits, and welcome to another 1 minute review, although it's probably going to take me as long as it would take to probably travel to this planet unknown, actually, for the amount of time I'm going to review this, but hey, we're going to do our best today, okay, guys? That's what it's all about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally about doing our best. So, Planet Unknown is was a sleeper hit. I found out about Dice Tower last year. And it's last year at this point. Oh my God, we're getting old. That was last year. And it was one of these games that kind of caught your eye. It looked interesting because it had this Lazy Susan thing going on here, and it literally is called Susan. But I was like, I don't know. It looked okay, but it didn't really it didn't set my world on fire. Like I saw a lot of people playing and talking about it, but I was like, whatever. So fast forward, this game kind of became a sleeper hit. Everybody was talking about it. It was very good. I've seen it pop up in things and reviews and da-da-da-da. But I kind of avoided it. I was like, And what it took was actually, I was interested in it. And I think you got a copy.
Oh yeah, I bought that.
He bought a copy.
I've been trying to get it at every con since then.
Because it sold out for a while too. But it took going to like when Misfit Todd's house, because he had to bust it out there. Because we didn't actually play it. Like you bought it and we still didn't.
I brought it to Misfit Todd's house.
Oh, you bought it to his house? I thought he had a copy.
Yeah. Well, he had a copy.
He had a copy.
I brought it, but he
had a copy. Yeah. So he was trying to play it for a while, and we still didn't get around to it because we have a lot of games like that. And we went to Misfit Todd's house the other week, and we busted out and played. I'm like, holy crap, this is as fun as everybody was talking about. I was very surprised. So here's my 1 minute review, which I think we've already gone over a minute probably, of Planet Unknown. Now, you've probably either been on the bandwagon for this, but if you haven't, I'm going to tell you what's great about it. Now, this is a tile laying game. All the tiles you see here are going to be what you're going to be putting on your board here. So it has that tile laying flavor. If you've ever played Feast of Odin or any of these other tile laying games, Isle of Cats, some of these other tile laying games, you kind of know what to expect in that regard. You're going to be laying tiles down, filling up. You have squares you can put it in, but of course you don't want to block off areas for your tiles to go in, so you got to kind of Tetris things. But there's a lot more going on with this game, and that's what makes the game so much fun. So every round, whoever is the lead player gets to spin this Lazy Susan around wherever they want. Every player has access only to one area of that Lazy Susan. So you see those little markers here. They point to the area you have access to. So, for example, it's my turn. I say, man, I really want this tile here. Boom. These players have only access to these tiles from either the top rack or the bottom rack. So you have two sections you can work with. But those are the only tiles you have access to. And that's really cool because it creates a conundrum. It creates gameplay things where you're like, man, you spun it around here and I didn't want any of these tiles. I'm going to try to figure out. So it forces you to take a little bit of tiny towns in there where you're forced to take things that you don't want. So that adds a layer to it because you can kind of mess with people too. Like I know when I played and I won that game too, I was actively like, I kind of want that tile, but I have a tile that'll work just as well. And it doesn't give my neighbors access to tiles that'll really help them. And there's the next reason for that, because they're not only laying tiles on your board and doing things, but you also have objectives to score. And these objectives are shared by your neighbors. So you have these objectives. If you're first, you get more points than they do. So it's like, okay, well, I want to come ahead in this objective. I don't want to have them access to have, say, water tiles. So I might try to get a tile where it's like, all right, I want a water tile, but my neighbor doesn't have access to a water tile. And it basically screws them over. So that whole factor becomes prominent in this. It becomes a strategy. You're like, oh, wow, this kind of opens up a little depth, because normally in tile laying games, you don't get a ton of like, I'm going to block you getting tiles. That doesn't really happen. So it adds a new layer element on top of objectives. And then you add in even more. You have a board that you have kind of, what's a good example? I'm trying to think of what has good, like Mars, like terraforming Mars, things like that, where you have things that you upgrade as you go along. And what happens is when you lay your tiles down, you have different colors because it's broken down in different colors. You have blue for water, you have red, you have beige, and you have, basically all these colors right here. And when you lay tiles down for that, you will raise the different levels on your board. And when you do that, that's super cool because as you lay those tiles down, you unlock different things as you go. And each area has a different specialty. So for example, like water's pure points. This is technology, opens up technology cards at different levels, and you have literally different levels of technology cards that give you different spiffs or power-ups and things like that. You have forests that you level up, and you get little forest tiles that'll fill in blanks. So if you have an area you can't necessarily fit, you put a forest tile in there. If it would fit, you get the idea. It's supposed to fit in there, right? Yeah. It's supposed to fit in there. It fit in there for me before. But you can basically fill out single tiles that maybe normally wouldn't be able to fit. And there's a reason for that. It's important. Here is moving your rover. You get a rover that will appear, and you basically get to move it around the board. And that's important because that plays another aspect. You move a rover around, you pick up these pods, which go into your scoring area, or you clear out meteors, thereby allowing you other scoring opportunities. And then the last one is you have your levels that you unlock for your different powers over here, which your tech tree basically, and unlocks you to allow you to do different things. And not only do you have different corporations as well, they have different tech trees and different branches. So you can really change it up as you play this game quite a lot. And not only that, you also have to worry about filling out sections, because when you fill out these lines on the board, you score different points for that. But if you have meteors in those rows, you can't score that row. There's a lot going on in this game, and I'm gonna give you guys a ton of credit. You took tile laying games in a direction probably not many other tile laying games thought of. I mean, honestly, Feast for Odin is one of those kind of break the mold things or whatever. You kind of took it to that notch of level almost. It's like there's just so much to think about and do, and different ways to change the game. That there's just so much expandability in this game. You're never gonna get tired of this game. And it was a ton of fun. I had a ball playing it, and we barely scratched the surface. We only played a few games.
Yeah, don't forget, everybody plays at the same time.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Well, yeah, I mean, that does happen in tile laying games a bit, but I will say, yeah, everybody plays at the same time. So when it scrolls around, everybody grabs the tiles, lays it down, and you keep moving. So the pace is very, very fast. And you're not going to agonize over essentially doing different things and taking a bunch of time. I mean, you might a little bit, but it'll still move fairly well. It's not as cramped, say, as Feast of Odin or whatever, where you're really trying to fit and make certain things happen on the board. Which makes the game move along a little faster, because other ones will put like 15 conditions on this board you need to meet. And while there's some conditions on this board, it's not as complex, or it doesn't bog you down as much. So you can drop tiles and kind of go a little bit. This game is awesome. This game is absolutely awesome. I didn't expect it to light as much as I did. I thought the Susan thing was cute, but kind of chintzy. I thought maybe it was a gimmick, but it absolutely plays into how the game plays, and it looks good. It looks very good. Everything about this game just comes together nice. The components are really good. You get a lot of quality stuff. Just overall top-notch game. You're gonna have a ton of fun with it. Out of 5, I'd give this easily a 4. I'd easily give this a 4. The only reason 5 are reserved for the utmost here, and the only reason I give it a 4 is because it is still a tile laying game, and that's not everybody's preference sometimes. I can use that kind of for almost anything. And I will say, I probably playing it more might bring it up a little bit, but I do see some wiggle room for things to even add more to it. A solid 4, a great game, a lot of complexity you wouldn't expect, but not so much it bogs you down. But with a quick playing time, because everybody's playing at once. A great game, guys. I highly recommend it, especially for a beginning tile laying game with upgrading and stuff. Even newer players can kind of lean into it after a little. It wouldn't take a ton of effort to lean into this game. Definitely recommend picking it up. Definitely worth the price of admission. You feel sad for buying this game in any way, Mr. Tom?
The only way I'm a little sad is I wish they put something on top of the Susan to keep all the pieces in when you pack it.
Yeah.
That's the only criticism.
Because every time you open this, the tiles go everywhere. So he wishes there was like a cover. Maybe it was in a Kickstarter version. I don't know. And like I said, that's really, like I said, I can see a little wiggle room for improvement for certain little things. Nothing crazy. But it's an amazing, amazing game that they did a great job on. And I'm looking forward to seeing more games from these guys, because this is honestly, it takes a genre and it blends and adds new stuff to it that didn't really exist before. So they just perfect first Planet. You could bet there'll probably be a sequel to this. I almost bet money there's going to be a sequel to this, probably, without a doubt. Planet Even More Unknown, yeah. So guys, take it from me. This is definitely one you want on your shelf. That's definitely a keeper. Thanks for attending my 1-minute review as always. What is it? It was 30 seconds, right? I'm pretty sure it was around 30 seconds.
Yeah, you ever take
we might have made it
9 minutes.
We might have made it to the planet already. Thanks, guys, for joining me again for another review. Don't forget to put your comments in below. And as always, of course, travel to new planets, find new things, and game on.